And since this is a relatively small group, you can certainly pop questions there in the chat box or add them to just open up the mic and do what you're going to do. So we're going to start with Schoology, a little step-by-step guide. The first thing is you just have Schoology open, either on your secondary monitor or on a separate tab, and kind of doing like side-by-side with the presentation today. I'm going to be doing a lot of clicking around in Schoology and just showing you how things are in the actual program. And so one of the neat things about it is you can have as many Schoology tabs open as you would like, logged in, and wherever you want to go. So I got a personal course here. Actually, I now have 2 personal courses. But maybe I want to go log into the training course. So you can keep, duplicating your tabs and going crazy. So I've got a division course, and now I've got my personal one, and I can go back to the slideshow. So all quickly accessible. All right. The basic contents for today is we're going to go over basic navigation of Schoology. So what's the main parts? Course settings. So some of the basics about setting your courses up. The course structure. So what should your course look like? And then finally, profile settings. And then next week, we're going to talk about posting materials, adding different resources into Schoology, like lesson ideas, like that sort of stuff. And then in 2 weeks, we'll talk about assessments, the different kinds of assessments that you can do. So let's get started with basic navigation. There are 4 basic sections to Schoology. So when you log in, that's kind of your home screen. And there are 2 options. The recent activity, so that's like update feeds from different courses or groups that you're part of. So if you're active on Facebook, it's kind of like your Facebook feed in a way. And then course menu is the other sort of landing page for Schoology, not nearly as useful. We'll talk about switching. Courses are those that you're either teaching or participating in. Groups, so there are Schoology groups which are different than courses. We haven't talked a lot about that yet, but I'll kind of touch on groups real quick during the presentation. And then the resources section. So resources is sort of a filing cabinet of different sorts of things. So I'm going to start talking about, all right, so in Schoology itself, so if you click on the FCPS logo or just log in through lms.fcps.edu or using the shortcut that's on your desktop. A quick note, Schoology does not require VPN or to be on the FCPS network. So you can access it from your personal computers, Mac, Windows, whatever. You also can download the Schoology app onto your phone or iPad. Just follow the login directions on there to make sure that I think it asks you for your school, and if you just search Fairfax County, you can look up the district and it'll get you to the right login spot to set up your phone or your other device. So the app is an app. It's good for like doing quick updates and checking things real quick, but does not replace the desktop experience here, the web. All right, so this is recent activity. So this is where mine defaults to. How do we log in? So there is a shortcut on your desktop. But you've actually logged in by being here. So this is the main login page for Schoology. So make sure that gets bookmarked, starred, however, but that's our main login page. Now, the course dashboard is the other option to start when you log in, and this just shows like your classes. Both of these things also have like a calendar view for things that are coming up. I'll talk more about the calendar a little bit later. So courses, so this course menu is what students will see and you. And one note about courses in Schoology is that when they're created in SIS, the ability to personalize the names or anything like you could in Blackboard or Google Classroom, you don't have any control. So there's actually a friend of mine that now teaches over at Langley, and she shared with me one of her classes, and they're a pilot school, so she's using this for real. And as you can see, it is like the SIS name for the class and the staff name with a little period. So this is exactly how it shows up as the default in Blackboard. So you can't change this at all. What you can do is change the course image. So we'll talk about that later and why we're going to use that for personalizing our class. Now, there's another limitation on the course screen in that you can only see 12 of these courses at a time, no matter how many you're registered or teaching. So students will have their 8 classes, periods 1 through 8 here. They may have like an academy course. They're going to have their, students are also going to have a like Lewis student all course that they get added to. The library has like a Lewis all course to it as well. They may be in their graduating class year course. So this will fill up really quick, and you're also going to similarly have the classes that you teach, advisory, and then any other courses that you're added to. So to navigate this and to make this a little easier to work with, you're going to click on My Courses from the course dropdown. And then this gives you a list of all the courses that you are part of. So even if it's more than 12, they will show up here. I'm currently in 8. And you can click on Reorder Courses. And this allows you to kind of drag and change the order at which these classes show up on your screen. So for students, we're going to have a advisory session at the beginning of next year to talk about like how to use Schoology and all the features and all of the good stuff. But certainly for students, we may suggest that they reorder their courses so that their Blue Day courses are the top 4, their Gold Day courses are below that, and then the other courses that they're involved with are below in that 3rd row. So we'll talk about organization and stuff a little bit later. Okay. So once you set the order, you close that. So now my courses show up in that order that I just set. So I did rearrange this just a little bit. And you can see that that's how you rearrange. So that's just how you rearrange how your courses look in Schoology. Okay, we talked about organizing courses, great. All right, so resources is another area in Schoology that's kind of like a personal filing cabinet for you. So just so you know, anything that you put in resources and anything that you put in your personal course in Schoology, your little sandboxy course. Can you go to the course and change that? Yes. I mean, anything you post in Schoology, like your personal course and in your resources, all those will carry over to next year, and then you can copy them into your courses when they show up at the end of August. So the way that it's going to work for you all is that your courses are going to be tied to SIS, and so when the master schedule rolls over and becomes live, all of your Schoology courses will also become live on your account. And the rosters are completely managed by a SIS sync every night. So while you are able to add students or even add like a teacher, well, you can add a teacher into your class, but anybody that gets added as a student will then be removed when the sync up happens overnight to the next day. So if you're just like, oh, can you just duck in, if you talk to a staff member or somebody. So yes, you can post assignments. Now assignments themselves, like how to access and post assignments, is going to be more detailed in 2 weeks when we do our session then. So this week we're just going to talk about settings and basics and course structure. Next week will be materials and adding like resources into Schoology, and then in 2 weeks will be about assignments and how they work. So we're getting there. But yes, you can definitely open up your personal course and mess around with the different assignment options and play around with it. Go refer to, I think it's module 3 is assignments. I have to go back and check, but it does go over the different assignment tools in the training modules. Okay, so in resources, you always have like a home directory here, but then you can add directories like a collection. So if I teach like USVA, I can add a collection of just that, or if I teach World History 2, and I can add sorts of things. Or you could just throw everything in your home directory. Either way, it's fine. If there's something you want to put into your classes, so if I add stuff in, either a folder or a particular thing, so if I want to put this document, I just select it, and then I can click on the gear and go to add to course, and it will allow me to do that. Or you can do copy to and either move it to another collection and resources, or you can actually add it to group resources in a group that you're part of, which I'll talk about groups a little bit later. But if you want to copy stuff to your class, you can go to add to course and then stick it to whatever course that you are a teacher for. So I can put it in my personal course, and I can add it to, really anywhere in my personal course. So everything you put in resources this year, if you're, starting to put things over, maybe you're downloading stuff off of Blackboard and you want to upload it into Schoology, which is a separate bit that we could talk about a little bit later. So you can either do individually, or you can even do entire folder. So if I just want to move this whole unit folder, I just select it and go to add to course, and it will let me put it there. If I want to put it in a different folder, put it there, I go to add, and it'll do things like move the whole folder there. Might give me yep. So it just did the whole thing. Fine, awesome. So it just added the whole thing. Okay, the other thing in resources, especially if you haven't used Schoology before or logged into it, is to click on the apps box over here. And you're going to make sure that your Google Drive is connected. So mine is already. But when you first log into Schoology, it thinks that your Google account is also the same as your email, which is bizarre, but is what it is. So you're going to get a little bit of an error. So you have to change it through options and account settings. Then it says sign into a different account. Now I already have mine set, but you would just go to other account and then hit connect, and then make sure that your fcpsschools.net account is added. So that's connected to your Schoology. Again, this is gone over in the training modules in case you need more assistance with that. So once you do have your Google Drive and resource app connected, the Google with connecting your Google Drive. All right, so you click on resources and apps, and then select Google Drive resource app. So mine's already connected, but if you haven't done this before, it's just going to throw up an error. And click on options and account settings. And you should have the option to click this blue connect button. And then once you do, it'll ask you to log into your school Google account, and then you just accept all the permissions and it'll go. And that's really how you can connect your school Google Drive with Schoology.
So Adam, you're saying use the .NET one, not the EDU one that it automatically connects to?
Yes, because this is your Google account. Yes, your school Google account is the fcpsschools.net. Yes. That's why you get an error. That's why you get an error before you connect them, because it's trying to connect to a Google account that doesn't exist.
Okay, so when you do that, it automatically uploads everything you have in Google Drive to Schoology.
So yes and no. So this is where it gets a little complicated. It will only access My Drive, like whatever's in your main drive, as well as files that are shared with you, it will not connect your shared drives. That's a different problem. So if you're like CT or department has a shared drive and you've put like a whole bunch of stuff in there, um, we'll have to talk about like how do you get it out of that shared drive and into something that Schoology can see. It's a different process. But yes, generally speaking, that's how you connect your drive. All right, I don't want to touch too much on groups, but there are a group for every department here at Lewis. You also can create groups for any extracurriculars that you are an advisor for, and your students can join it. So my Lancer Media students can be part of a Schoology group, and it's a good way to add announcements and all sorts of stuff. So right now there is a Lewis Math group where Pam is also the moderator or administrator of it. And so there has been a lot of guidance with department chairs on how to use groups. So we're not really going to talk too much about it, but groups are a great place to add resources, assignments, stuff that like CTs use in common. So like within the department group, you can set up folders for the different CTs, and then you can use this as a way to share resources and add them to classes. So yeah, it's not going to let you join the group because you have to be invited. These are all like private groups, and so if Pam wants to make the Lewis Math group active, she'll have to send out the invites. Yes, we haven't really touched on it, but groups exist. They're a thing. That's the only thing I just want to mention. The other thing, especially when it relates to like math stuff, is that if you use like ST Math, that's linked with Clever. So Schoology has this Clever link already. And if we're using like Horizon assessments, that's how you access them in Schoology, is through this little like waffle icon over here. And really that's about it as far as organization. You know, you have your calendar link, of course, and this shows you the calendar and all of your Schoology classes and groups. So anything that's added an event, you know, that's in the calendar here. And then if you send messages to other teachers or students or that sort of stuff. Anything like that that isn't in Clever, you'd have to post the login link into your Schoology account. So if you're using like another online resource, that's going to be added. That should be added as a link, just like you would add it into Blackboard or something like that. Little by little, this will be added. Like other stuff will show up here, and the same thing with the apps. Like FCPS is not using a lot of third-party apps in Schoology just yet, but little by little. Oh, pals. Yeah. Not 100% sure about how that gets added, but how do students access pals now? So, I actually don't know. Okay, so groups, resources, course settings. All right, so yeah, I mean, I'm sure I'm sure there'll be more like department specific guidance on how to access pals and everything. I think as we get closer to the beginning of the year, but if I take a guess, you're probably going to have to post a link into your Schoology account for your students to click on. That would be my guess. All right, course settings. So I'm going to go to my personal course. So course settings, there isn't really a lot for you to personalize with your courses. A lot of this you can't change. So when your courses for next year roll over, much of the stuff in like the info tab here, you're just not going to be able to change. Like this is all going to be SIS related and not much. Under course settings, so
can we add a course to play around with like what you're doing, or do we use the one that says personal course?
Yeah, your personal course is basically your sandbox, and so that's the only sandbox that you have for this year. And then next year you'll have your regular courses, and also this like sandbox course will be kept. So if you wanted to add things for different preps in your personal course, you might want to add like different folders for your different preps, and then kind of build it out that way. Because in your regular courses, you can copy from your personal course into your regular course. So yeah. So basically, that one personal course you get to play with is the one that you have. All right, course settings. So most of this is not really changeable. Yeah, like different, right. So yeah, you still just get that one personal course to mess around with. That would be my suggestion, is to just create multiple folders in your personal course and then use that to kind of build up the resources that you want to carry over for next year. All right. As far as this goes, so this little parent icon, this is the level of access that parents have. And you will see, I can show you actually. Hang on. I'll show you in a second. So parents basically have view access in anything in Schoology, and that's really about it. Other settings that are kind of interesting is down here. So course updates is like updating your course feed. You probably want to keep this to the course admins, which is the teachers. Commenting on course updates, that's going to be a professional decision by you. If you like to have students ask questions or anything like that in the updates that you post, then you just change this to all members. And then edit discussion responses. So if you put a discussion board on your Schoology and your students respond, then they can edit their response or not, depending on what you said here. So all members would include students, and course admins are just teachers. Oh, so I got here by going into my personal course to course options, and then course settings. The other thing that is of note is this landing page for your course. So when a student logs in, like what's the first thing that they see? I would recommend having it be materials. So one of the guiding ideas for next year is for students to click as few times as possible to get to where they need. And so when you start them in the materials section, that means that they're going to start here. Now, if you have an update that you want them to see when they log in, you can use the announcements feature. So that's what this is. So this is actually an announcement that sits on top of your materials over here. So I'll show you that in just a second. If you wanted to see like how it looks like with a parent roster, here's an actual course. So for this example, okay. So what you'll notice, got members here. All right. So for example, like a student here. So this is the student, and then these are the parents that are, um, these are the parents that are basically attached to that account if they have a assist parent login. All right, so these are the parents, so they can log in also at lms.fcps.edu. But yeah, so that's how you'll see it for students next year, is the student name and then their parents underneath. But also this teacher is using groups. That's what this is over here. So you can see what groups they're part of for different, I guess, projects and other sorts of things. Yes, both parents, as long as each parent can have their own cis parent account, and yes, both parents can log in. All right, let me go back to my personal course. Okay, Yeah, the other settings is about grading. So Schoology and SIS don't talk to each other. So if you put a grade into Schoology, it doesn't carry over into SIS. And so you can still set up your grade book much like you would in SIS. Um, but I will honestly not really recommend any of this because you don't want students to get confused, and there's a possibility that their Schoology average could be different than their SIS average, and then you get those questions. And so for now, I'm recommending that in your grade settings that you click these boxes here to hide the overall grade so that students really can't see their overall average. Yeah, so the SIS Schoology grading, like just like in Google Classroom or even in Blackboard, like there is a gradebook feature and you can grade assignments and students can see it in their gradebook in a Schoology course, but that isn't their like official grade. SIS remains their official grade. So that is why I would recommend hiding this so that they can't actually see what their overall grade is. This does get us into, you know, the discussion about rubrics and using rubrics in Schoology, and maybe that's how you want to grade stuff in Schoology as opposed to actual grades. Well, that's a separate conversation. Okay. Any questions so far? Are we good?
So I have a question. Do you hide the grade book or you press the other options?
So there's no, as far as I know, there's no way to actually hide the grade book. So
They,
let's see.
they
Let me
said,
go to the act.
yeah, hide grading category score columns.
Right. So what that does is that just hides, you know how in SIS you can do like assignments or assignment weighting and stuff, and you could actually see like what your percentage and the different assignment weights are.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
In Schoology you can do the same thing. So if I look like this is an actual one, if I click on the grade book here,
Mm-hmm.
um, so I'm hoping. Actually, I have not tested this before, so I don't really know what this looks like. All
It's
right,
like
so this
a sys.
teacher,
Mm-hmm.
right? So this teacher does have this set, right? So they are
Mm-hmm.
using the grade book to
Mm-hmm.
log assignments here, right? But again, they're not going directly into SIS.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but if you look in the settings, okay.
There is
So
hide.
yeah, so basically they still are hiding the overall grade, right?
Okay.
So what they're doing is so if you're a student in this class, like yeah, you're gonna see um I don't know if it'll let me view the grade book as a student does, but the students won't see their overall grade, but they'll still see their individual assignment grades, right? So if they want to know what their overall average is, they still have to log into StudentSys and look at that way. That's the thing. I wonder if I can. Let's see.
No,
So if
I
I
mean, if we hide our grade, then the kids they cannot see it. If
right. So if
we
I'm the student, yes. So if I'm this student and I'm looking at my gradebook right now, see, it shouldn't show the average. I don't know why. So under their grades, they are able to see. I don't know why that is. It shouldn't, but they can see like their grades here. For the work. Yeah, I'm not really 100% sure why they still see this, but anyways, the idea is that we don't want Schoology to say that the student has like you know an overall A average, but meanwhile SIS says that it has like an A minus, and then you start getting those questions, and you know so that's the big thing about why students shouldn't really be seeing their overall average in Schoology because it's not official, and I don't want them to get confused.
Okay, Adam, but if we put the grade on Schoology and if the parents can see it, uh, what I mean is the main point is for the parents to see the grade of their children, right?
Well, that's why parents, yes, but parents also have the Parent Sys account, right? And so parents should be told to log into Parent Sys and check the grade there because that's the official one.
Okay.
That's all. Yeah, I mean, I imagine, so if I view course, like let's say now instead I'm going to view course as how a parent sees it. I'm not actually, I really do not know, to be frank. I've never tried this before. Okay, so this is how the parent sees Schoology. So they still see like the images here, and I think they still see their students like gradebook. But again, like the parents have to be told, like this overall average is unofficial. That's all. All right, let me get back to this. Okay, so the next part is about folders. And so in this slideshow, but also in our training, is a document on our basically how courses should be set up. Now, this was modeled after another pilot school, and we're waiting to hear officially whether the county has like a course structure that we have to pass down. But even that, we do want all the courses to kind of have a few elements that are the same. So for example, this course information red folder to be on top of every course. And that's going to contain things like your syllabus for your class, your contact info, the bell schedule, like links to resources that you use all the time. And just having this be a red folder in everybody's class makes it easier for parents that have to navigate through, 8 different folders or 8 different courses to know that, okay, if I want to find the syllabus, every class has this red folder with course information. So regardless of whatever CPS says for course structure, like some sort of common course information folder is likely going to be a requirement for next year. And then as far as the rest of your units, so you can go by units or you can go by calendar weeks. Those divisions are fine, whatever works for your CT and for you. The thing that we are going to request is that the newest stuff is always on top. So this is my course information, and then, this is my next unit. And now here are my previous units. So I like to go by units. When I was teaching, I would have my Blackboard and Google Classroom set up in units, not necessarily weeks. But others, like Sherry Seuss in nutrition and wellness, for her, like weeks work better, right? And so this is her class, divided by weeks. So again, you still see this course information folder here, and that has the syllabus and needed info. But then below that is the materials in sort of reverse chronological order. So the newest stuff is on top. And so these are just going to be like this is going to be common for all classes next year. And again, we're still waiting to see if there will be, I don't know. I've been in meetings before that they seem to hint that there's going to be like an FCPS course structure that they're thinking of implementing countywide. I just don't know. But for us, we just want to get everybody into the habit of having a few common things in all of your classes. So, the course information folder and setting up your most recent stuff up top are likely to be like the two, non-negotiables here. Okay. So how do we do that? So if I go back to mine, so to add a folder, so that goes under add materials and add a folder. And then you just click on red for folder color and you give it a title. In this case, it's going to be course information. And then you can just click on it to create it. Oh, That is. It's actually there. That's the presentation I'm using. Okay, so you can just put the name, click on it red. Now, one neat thing that you can do in Schoology is because your courses are considered live, and they're also live to students when when their schedules are active. If you don't want students to see stuff in folders just yet, you can set your folder availability to be published on a start date. So if I know, let's say that change the language. Possibly. I haven't messed around with languages, to be honest. Maybe. All right, let's see. So if we know students are starting, this is our week back. So we know they're going to start on like August 30th. And now we go to publish on start date, and that start date is set to August 30th. And now I go to, just so I know which one this is, I go to create. So it's going to make this folder, and you can see that it's unpublished, and it says available after August 30th. So if you don't want students to see your stuff in Schoology just yet, for whatever reason, you can set it to that, publish on start date, and now you can see it as a teacher, but students cannot. All right, and as far as how to make this go to the top, you just simply click and drag it, and you can drag it all the way to the top here, which is fine. You also can click and drag, you can also drag stuff into folders. So there it is, awesome. Or drag them back out of the folder. And the same thing with like these resources. So if for whatever reason I don't want my Pear Deck link in here, but I want it in this folder, I can push it. If I move it just under the name, this little pink shaded area, and I let go, and now it's inside my folder. So you can use these little arrows to open up your folders and like add stuff. And you can also add stuff wherever you like by putting your mouse sort of between the space between where you want it to go. And you'll notice that your mouse kind of turns into this little green plus sign with the line. I call this the inline tool. And so by using this, yes, delete it. All right, so if I'm ready for my unit and I want it to go like here, I just simply click on this little line right between these two folders, and now I can add a new folder. And done. So if you're ready to start your new unit, you can just click this little green dashed line right above the previous one and right below your course information one, and now you can add your folder there. Okay, anything on opening folders and creating them? I kind of demonstrate that here in the slideshow. All right, so the last thing, or second last thing I want to talk about is your course images. So this little image on the top left is one of the only ways to really identify your class. And we provided a template. So in the training class, there actually is, this course requirements document. So that's linked already. And in this document, we talk about your course image, and we have two different templates. There's a Blue Day template and a Gold Day template. And so the Blue Day template is basically a Google image file, a Google drawing, where it's got some guidelines on the side. And the key part is that the stuff within these red lines, so this area, this is what Schoology is going to pull to show in the course menu, right? So if I've got like my period number, and let's say this is, period 3 or something like that. But now I move it to down here. This will not show up in the course. Only what's basically between these red lines will show up in the course. So you're free to use the template and use it as often as you need. If you just double click, you can just change the information here. So maybe I teach in 364 for this period. And that updates it. And maybe this is not tech assistance. Maybe it's USVA history. Period 3. If you want to add different icons instead of our Lewis logo, that's also fine. But yeah, you can basically update this little course information thing or this image as much as you want. You can add stuff to the bottom and the top, right? It just means that it's not going to show up in this menu, but it will show up. Like these things would show up when you open the course. So they will show up over here at the top. So yeah, your little icons will show up there. All right, so to download this in Google Images, you just go to, so you go to File and download as an image. And then it's going to download it to your computer, usually in the Downloads folder. And so if you want to change it, you just click on Edit Picture in your course, attach file, and it's in my Downloads folder, and wait for it to show up. So here it is with my period 7. Actually, no, that's this one. No, it's this one. I know. Period 3. And just close it, and then there's my period 3, and I've changed it. So we've got this going on for our blue days, and if I had like a gold day class, I could just click on the gold day template. It's going to make me make a copy of it. But now it's the same idea, but now it's just an image that's got like a gold background. So hopefully for students, they've got their blue day classes in a row or their gold day class in a row. It just makes things, easy to identify. So you might want to change the fill. That might show up even better, making it blue. So that if this instead was like period 6 or something, we could use that. Well, I wouldn't say it has to be blue and gold. It's just way easier. So it's just way easier for it to be. It's way easier for students. So we're trying to make this as easy as possible, especially because like students, when they look at they're just going to see a bunch of courses that look kind of like this. So or like this, right? And so if they just see like a bunch of icons that don't mean anything, like they really have to look and like read this really carefully and like, which course is this really? So if they have their classes, look, it's clearly labeled, like it's got their period number, like this is much easier to see. So that's the goal, is to have our students know how to access their classes as quickly as possible. So yes, but you can, you could personalize this as you like. Like Sherry put a little Bitmoji in here and, change the font. Like you could update it as much as you want. You could even put your own image up there. The thing to just be aware of is that Schoology is going to pull the middle area of this and use it as the course menu image, right? So you do have to be aware of like how this looks when you upload it into Schoology and then kind of, edit it as you will. So with these templates, we made these templates with all of that work already done for you. So you can definitely do whatever you want when it comes to course images. It's just recommended that, blue day classes have a blue background and gold day classes have a gold background, but everything else is kind of up to you. Yeah, so next year, Google Classroom is not going to be used with students basically at all. It just should not. It will exist. Like you can set up a Google Classroom. It's just Schoology is the management system that FCPS is using next year. That's the official company line. And it may be the year after or some other time, but yeah, Google Classroom may eventually be turned off by the county. I don't know when, but originally that was going to be their plan is Google Classroom was going to get turned off, and then I think this year or for next year they decided not to turn it off, but really only use it with teachers.
Hi, Adam.
Yeah, so
Yeah, do you know whether we can transfer Google Classroom to Schoology?
well, kind of. I think in the training course, in the teacher's training class here, it does have a little bit of a discussion at the bottom for like what's next. This is only because it's about Blackboard. So this will be kind of more talked about next week. But really, when you think about like what Google Classroom is really just an organization space. And so if these are already like Google Docs, there are ways to add Google Docs into Schoology relatively easily. And once you do this next year, you can copy it and save it, from year to year. So you only really have to do it like once. But as long as you have like your Google Slides files or templates for your documents, like as Schoology connects with your Google Drive, it makes it mostly painless to kind of go from one to the other. So that'll be more talked about next week. Okay. Let's see. Oh, lovely. Yep, USB drive. Okay. Very good. Okay, so let's portray thought a little bit. All right, so that's course images. Yeah, so where you find this is under so in the training class has that link to our so the course requirements. So that's this document here, and that'll take you to this document. And then the templates are basically the Blue Day template and the Gold Day template. So that's how you access those things. All right, and lastly is about your profile. So Schoology allows you to update a profile. So you click on your name and go to your profile. And you can add a picture the same way you do for courses. And so, again, this is going to be personal to you. So I currently have my little, Funko Pop version of myself here, but, I could always add a different version of myself. Like maybe I'll change it back to my Bitmoji self. Let's see. I'm sure I have that easily accessible somewhere. My downloads folder is a mess. Blah, 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 blah. So you find the one that you want. I happen to know that mine is like all the way towards the bottom. All right, there we go. I'll use this picture. That sounds even better. Maybe I'll just use a regular picture of myself. So upload it. And then there we go. And then you can edit the thumbnail and move this to show like when you make updates or whatever, this is the picture that will there. So you go to there and you go crop. And so now that's my little thumbnail. All right, so I got this in my profile image, and then my little thumbnail will show up here eventually. And you can click on edit. And you can edit, like about me, like what you do, your position, all that kind of stuff. Students won't see your year of your birth, by the way, but if you do want to put like your birthday up there, you can do it. And the way that they like the way you can see these profiles and the students can set up their own, there's a few ways. One is you can click on course members. All right, And so, like, let's say Miss Harrison, and go to info, and then you can see like whatever they added here. All right, so voila. And again, this is totally optional. Like, there's nothing requiring you to do this, but certainly like an icebreaker, kind of get to know you activity. You can encourage students to complete their own profile and add their stuff, and you can click on theirs and see their interests and whatever they choose to share. So it's up to you, but it is available. So I think that's about it as far as my formal presentation today. Any other questions? Anything else that you guys want me to go over before we close? All right. So next week we'll talk about adding materials, and then we'll talk about assignments after that.
Thanks, Adam. That was wonderful.
You're welcome.
Thank
See
you,
everybody
Adam.
around. Sure.
See you around.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Is the session gonna be in the same time, Adam?
Yeah, so all the session times will be the same for next week too. Yes, Tuesday,
Okay.
Wednesday.
Perfect. Thank you so much.